Welcome to Season 1, Episode 6 of the Dennis Manoloff Show. As always, it is an honor and a privilege to speak with you. I never say those words lightly. I'm very fortunate to have a podcast, period, and I hope I do right by you, the listeners. We tape one day after Mother's Day 2021, and I don't want to let such an important day get in the rearview mirror without giving a shout out to all of the mothers and stepmothers out there. Every day can and should be Mother's Day, given the size of the responsibility. I don't know how you do it. I was blessed to have an amazing mother, Linda. Actually, the verb tense should be different. I am blessed to have an amazing mother, Linda, because she died in October 2014, but she's always going to be my mom and will always have an influence on my life. She was a Spanish teacher in the Bay Village school system. Bay Village is where I grew up and went to school. I have a particular affinity for my graduating class at Bay High School, the class of 1985. Mom did too. She taught plenty of them at some point. And here's the kicker. Decades later, she remembered the Spanish names she assigned them each and every time. She loved her students, and as best I can tell, they loved her. The mom I got was the teacher they got. I thought we'd begin in earnest with baseball and, of course, the Cleveland Indians. The Indians' most recent series had an interesting twist or three to it. It was scheduled for 3 games against the Reds. Sunday was a washout because of the rains. Friday, the series opener just happened to be a no-hitter by Reds crafty lefty Wade Miley. Then the following night, the Indians rebounded with plenty of offense and defeated the Reds 9-2. They amassed 11 hits. Incredible as it sounds, we are only in early May, and already the Indians have executed the rarest of rare double-doubles. Get no hit one day, win the next. On April 14th, White Sox lefty Carlos Rodon nearly pitched a perfect game, settled for the no-no, and beat the Indians 8-0 in Chicago. The next day, the Indians won 4-2. Cleveland's winning pitcher in both games after having been no-hit, Aaron Savale. Now, I know that Shane Bieber gets a lot of attention for the Indians at the top of the rotation, and rightly so, but Aaron Savale is a pretty darn good pitcher, and he just so happens to be 5-0 with a 2.91 ERA and 7 starts this season. So I guess, Savali's a quiet type. He's an intellectual type. He probably doesn't mind being undervalued or underappreciated on the national scene, kind of sliding in behind Shane Bieber. But what a start to the season for Aaron Savale. And he can say he's 2-0 in the first game after the Indians were no hit. The Indians are 18-14, second place in the decidedly mediocre AL Central. Or is it mediocrity that is parity in disguise? The majority of MLB's 30 teams have 15-19 victories. Even the Los Angeles Dodgers aren't incredible. They were 18-17 at the time of this taping. As I look at the landscape of 2021 in MLB, I see parity, yes, but invariably I'll grant you that by the All-Star game, the better teams have separated themselves more often than not. You know what else I see, though? A boring product. I don't want to be the get off my lawn guy, especially not coming off of Mother's Day, but the MLB product just isn't what it once was. And I'm coming from a position of baseball lifer, somebody who loves the game, somebody who desperately wants to see the game flourish. What have I seen in recent years, especially this year? Too many strikeouts, walks, and home runs. Way too many strikeouts. Nowhere near enough offense. Nowhere near enough action baseball. Nowhere near enough strategy. The Red Sox entered today leading Major League Baseball in hitting in batting average at 267. All but 4 teams had a team batting average below 250. 12 teams, including the Indians, were hitting 230 or below. The Tribe was at 210, tied for last with Seattle. But Dennis, Batting averages don't matter anymore. Haven't you learned anything from the 21st century analytics crew? The numbers crunchers that have changed the game as we know it? Yes, I am aware. Batting average has been downgraded significantly. All that really matters now are on-base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS, which is on-base plus slugging, WAR, FIP, XFIP, WRC, weighted runs created, all sorts of alphabet soup. That's what's important these days. Well, at last check, 14 teams had an OPS below 700. 19 teams had a slugging percentage below 400. 19 teams had a slugging percentage below 400. MLB is striking out at record rates, as we know. Entering today, every team had at least 238 strikeouts. 14 teams had whiffed at least 300 times. And it's only early May. Am I the only one out there who's bored by the MLB product? Well, of course, that's a rhetorical question because I know I'm not. My buddies are bored. I hear from them routinely via text or email, and I'm well aware of what's on social media. It's gotten more and more difficult to enjoy this particular brand of baseball. If you agree with me, what do you identify as the main problem? Is it a problem that can be fixed? Is COVID-19 the only issue? In other words, clear that up and the game takes off again. I'm not so sure, because to me, the entertainment value of MLB was in decline and the interest level in MLB was in decline well before COVID hit. So I don't think it's as simple as, fans allowed back in at a full rate in various venues, and all of a sudden, the game is back. That'll help for sure, but there are many, many more facets, many, many more layers to the issue. One of them is attention span. The American sports fan isn't on board with sitting at a game for 3 hours or in front of a TV for even 10 minutes to watch baseball or other sports for that matter. The attention span issue is not easily remedied, though, in part because, baseball's charm comes from a steady build to a crescendo. It isn't constrained by a clock, in theory anyway. You go to a baseball game, you understand that you're going to watch something unfold in a manner of time-lapse photography. Another issue not easily remedied is competitive balance and equal distribution of revenue. It's no secret. Major League Baseball does not have a salary cap, but guess what? Number one, that's not the elixir. That's not the automatic elixir that everybody thinks it is. Just because you have a salary cap in a league doesn't guarantee parity, doesn't guarantee that everybody's on a level playing field, because here's what more than a few professional athletes have told me over the year, across sports, not just baseball. In every year, in every sport, you're going to have really good teams, you're going to have average teams, and you're going to have bad teams, regardless of a cap, regardless of distribution of revenue. Would it help Major League Baseball to have a salary cap? I suppose, but you're never going to have that with the players, because the players would just as soon shut the sport down than agree to any form of a salary cap. That's the big issue here. That's like trying to, add something that is anathema to these players. It is anathema to the players. So unless you want an extended lockout, a protracted lockout, a protracted work stoppage in Major League Baseball, you're not going to be able to implement a salary cap. So I don't have the easy solutions when it comes to, fans and attention spans and competitive balance. But I think plenty of moves can be made that would help Major League Baseball and would help people like me enjoy the product more. So I sat here in the run-up to this show and I crammed for what I believe are 6 simple potential solutions to help Major League Baseball. And I would implement them, I promise you, if I were commissioner for, let's say, a month, the month of December, after the current collective bargaining agreement expires. And I would create commissioner powers to force these changes on the game to try to help the cause. When we come back to the Dennis Manoloff Show, I will lay out my 6 specific changes that I think can help Major League Baseball.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Powell, co-host of the Oranges, Oranger, Browns podcast. Check us out anywhere you listen to podcasts. For all your Browns coverage, post-game, pre-game, anything you need Browns, you'll find it here on the Oranges, Oranger, Browns podcast.
You've been pining. You've been waiting for Rega and Rhoda to get back together. We gotcha. Press Play Podcast. We're ready to go. We're going to have our podcast with everything that you want. Browns, Cavaliers, Indians, Ohio State, the national scene. Kenny Rhoda, Michael Regai back together again. Make sure you keep your ears open. It's happening right here on Press Play Podcast. See you then.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Books like Stephen King's The Shining or Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. If you're on the hunt for book recommendations and enjoy sparkling conversation, come read along with us and then listen in.
Welcome back to Season 1, Episode 6 of the Dennis Manoloff Show, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. Producer for this show is Carlos Medina. Always a pleasure to work with Carlos. I mentioned before the break, I have solutions to what I believe to be MLB's problems. And granted, there are probably too many problems. I can't solve them all in one fell swoop, but I'm just coming up with 6 simple remedies that I think can help this game recover some of the ground that it's lost, help this game become more entertaining on the field, let alone entertaining off the field. Number 1, realignment. In my opinion, Major League Baseball is in desperate need of realignment. It is in desperate need of regional rivalries. The one saving grace that I believe to be the case now with interleague play is when you see those natural rivalries transpire. Well, in my proposed realignment, you will have plenty of natural rivalries. In the American League, if I were commissioner for, as I said, not just a day, because I need more than a day, commissioner for a month, specifically December of 2021. My American League East, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Orioles, the Nationals, and the Mets. Rivalries galore baked into that cake. The American League Central, Indians, Reds, Pirates, Tigers, Twins. American League West, Athletics, Giants, Mariners, Astros, Rangers. NL East, Braves, Phillies, Rays, Marlins, Blue Jays. NL Central, Cubs, White Sox, Brewers, Cardinals, Royals. NL West, Dodgers, Angels, Padres, Diamondbacks, Rockies. Blue Jays fans will be mad at me because they're not really geographically in the East. The NL East is kind of an odd spot for them. You know what? Honestly, that's the only one that I can think of that should be absolutely, positively upset with me. And maybe the Twins will say, what about us? But what kind of rival do the Twins have? In the AL Central, I'm reigniting the Twins-Tigers rivalry from postseasons past. But look at all of these division rivalries: Yankees, Red Sox, Yankees, Mets, Orioles, Nationals, Indians, Reds, Reds, Pirates, Indians, Pirates, for crying out loud, Tigers, Twins, Athletics, Giants, Astros, Rangers, Dodgers, Angels, Dodgers, Padres, Diamondbacks, Dodgers, Cardinals, Royals, Cardinals, Cubs, Brewers, Cubs, White Sox, Cubs, Rays, Marlins, Braves, Phillies. So what I want is more potential for these teams that are going to probably not like each other. If they haven't already, they're not going to. I want more chances for those teams to play. We know that Major League Baseball is much more of a regional game nowadays than it is a national game. Well, what can you do over the course of 6 months to not only help enhance your regional profile, but grow your national profile? You can create rivalries and allow those teams to play each other a lot. The more they play each other, the more tension. The more tension, the more attention. And all of a sudden, these games are talked about on a national level more because you don't have to worry about the interleague as being the only times where, for example, the Yankees and Mets get together, or the Indians and Reds to get together, or the Cubs and White Sox get together, and on down the line. Is the realignment going to solve all that ails the MLB? No. Is it conceivable that it's going to happen? My kind of an idea. I mean, realignment's been kicked around for forever. And you say to me, one of the counters would be, well, what about the National League? What about the American League? What's the big deal if you move from the National League to the American League, or the American League to the National League? As long as you have the same rules in each league. I give you solution number 2. Uniform rules for both leagues, specifically DH for everybody. Stop with the pitchers hitting. It was a good idea to finally stop it last year and have everybody with the universal DH in the 60-game pandemic season. Never should have gone back to NL pitchers hit. Uniform DH. You want to increase offense. This is one way to do it. Get the pitchers out of there. Let the pitchers sit on the bench and worry about pitching. But if you take away National League only rules or American League only rules and create a uniform rule system, then you won't have to worry about, well, I'm in the National League or I'm in the American League. Fine, go ahead and draw that distinction if you want. I mean, and I did 15 teams versus 15 teams, 2 different leagues. If you want to do that, fine, but have the same rule. I mean, think about in the NBA. Does the Western Conference play under different rules than the Eastern Conference? In the NHL, do they play under different rules according to divisions and conferences? In the NFL, does the AFC play different rules than the NFC? No. So why does it have to be where in baseball, the NL has the DH, the NL has the pitcher and the AL has the DH? Number 3, for potential solutions to what ails Major League Baseball, constrain the shifts. I'm not saying outlaw the shifts, but constrain them to something as specifically as no outfielders in the infield, no infielders in the outfield. Second baseman and first baseman need to stay to the right of second base. Shortstop and third baseman need to stay to the left of third base. And again, on the dirt if you're an infielder. Or on the cut of the infield grass, but not on the outfield grass. Outfielders in the outfield, infielders in the infield. Something as simple as that, those 2 components. You can create more opportunities for hitters to get hits. And you say to me, well, it's incumbent upon the hitter to beat the shift. All right. And that was an argument that I held for the longest time until I spoke with one of my producers at WTAM 1100, my radio program, Jake Underwood. And Jake said to me, yeah, except here's the issue. In the NFL, do they allow an offensive lineman to line up before the snap 10 yards down the field or 5 yards off the line of scrimmage? No. They all have to line up in a certain area. So he was drawing that kind of parallel. He's saying you should be able to tinker with the outrageousness that is shifting in today's MLB. And I'm not asking for the earth to move here. I'm simply saying outfielders stay in the outfield, infielders stay in the infield, and 2 infielders on the right side of second base, 2 infielders on the left side of second base. Number 4, for my commissioner for a month solution plan for MLB, robo plate umpires. No lost jobs here. You're going to have a plate ump to move the game along. He's got plenty of responsibility, including getting buzzed on either hip, whether it's a ball or a strike. But to me, what robo umpires, what computerized strike zones will do is it'll create a zone that players can lock in on. They can know what they're going to get. And the more a player can know for certain what his strike zone is going to be, the better he's going to be. And you take out some of the truly atrocious umpires who somehow have survived all these years despite being bad ball strike umps. Number 5, change how tickets are sold. Yes, season ticket plans are very important to every organization, especially the mid to lower markets, the mid to lower budgets. They should remain. Season tickets should remain. But as one example, every seat in the upper deck, in my opinion, should be on a first come, first serve basis if it didn't go to a season ticket holder. Season ticket holders get first dibs up until the deadline. Then once those tickets have been sold, public can get after the rest of them. First come, first serve, very close to similar price. We shouldn't have these outrageous differences in prices. I know there needs to be season ticket integrity. Yes, if you are willing to pay for season tickets, you should be rewarded. Or you should have. You're paying a premium for those seats. That's understood. But what these organizations should do is encourage more and more people to come to the ballpark. And how do you do that? You take away a lot of these gimmicks and a lot of these constraints, this premium ticket package, and you can buy, 5 games for the price of 4 if you get a premium ticket here and you buy 2 bleacher seats there. Streamline it. Make it a much more simple process to go to the ticket window on game day and look at the ticket prices and recognize that there are only 2 or 3 different ticket prices and that it is first come, first serve. You want more people to come to the ballpark, not fewer. And I can't tell you how many people have told me that they get frustrated trying to figure out just the board that is up behind the ticket taker at a major league ball game. What seats are where? How much are they? How much are they today? How much will they be if the opponent is the Yankees versus the opponent is the Brewers? I mean, it's crazy how many different permutations you have with an average MLB ticket plan for a particular team. Streamline it, simplify it, and lower the prices to get more people in the seats. And my 6th, and not my final, but for the purposes of this podcast, just 6 off the top of my head, solutions for MLB, the problems at ALMLB. Change how the games are available on TV and, for that matter, on the internet. Ridiculous amount of complaints that come in to the radio station where I work about how difficult it is to watch an average MLB game, or blackouts here, or this kind of streaming regulation. MLB, figure it out. Make it simple again. Keep it simple, stupid. The KISS method, as we know. But figure out a way so that fans in every market can see as many games as humanly possible. Stop with all the blackouts. You're chasing more and more people away from the game when you need to be encouraging them to come to the game. So, to review, realignment, I laid out my 30-team, 15 teams in each league, realigned divisions. Same rules for both leagues. Constrain the shifts or modify the shifts. Robo plate umpires. Change how tickets are sold and change how games are available on TV and the internet. I think if MLB were to seriously consider any or all of those, they would be much better off. All right, when we return to the Dennis Manoloff Show, I will conclude with a few remarks about the hapless Cleveland Cavaliers.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Hi, my name is Sam Post, owner of Phenomenal CBD Store and PhenomenalCBD.com. That's like phenomenal, CBD.com. Tune in where we talk with experts about how the amazing hemp plant can make a difference for people's health and well-being from the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. I created this podcast to have hard conversations. Conversations that make us human but are also wildly uncomfortable. Conversations that help give voice to the voiceless and to the marginalized. Now you can listen to the entire first season on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Consider this your personal invitation to join the conversation.
Welcome back to the Dennis Manoloff Show, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I thought we would wrap with a few remarks about the hapless Cleveland Cavaliers. As we're taping, they're playing the Pacers. I haven't even bothered to look at the game because I'm pretty sure they're going to lose. So what's the point? They entered tonight with a 10-game losing streak. They have 21 victories on the season. The season has become a joke. And honestly, the Cavaliers aren't the only team that has been utterly horrendous. We know there's a tankathon in the NBA. It's basically an annual thing where teams lose on purpose with winks of the eyes because they're trying to enhance their draft position or their draft odds. I think it has, I wouldn't say ruined the product, but it certainly has put a damper on the product. And MLB is not the only on-field entertainment value that's taken a hit. I think NBA games have taken a hit in part because these teams that are in tank mode are playing and they're losing big, and other teams are feasting on them with ridiculous scores and no defense is being played. One of the solutions that I would look to if I were Commissioner Adam Silver, if I were commissioner for a day, because this is only one solution, not six like I had for MLB, I would punish a team in the NBA if in back-to-back years it had a winning percentage, or in this case a losing percentage, winning percentage of 450 or lower. You go back-to-back years, back-to-back seasons with a winning percentage of 450 or lower, you get fined an enormous amount of money. I'm not exactly sure how much, maybe $1 million, $2 million, whatever hurts. And you lessen your lottery odds. You lessen your draft odds. There's got to be more incentive for teams to stop the perpetual losing. Because at the end of seasons, it should never be the case in a professional league where teams are racing to the bottom, where they're almost gleeful and bragging about trying to be bad. Now, of course, you say, well, where do they publicly say that? They're never going to publicly say that. but we know the truth. All we have to do is watch these teams play, watch the rosters that they put out, watch the guys who get on the who get put on the shelf for various ailments. The Cavs are an abomination. Yes, they won a title. The franchise won a title in 2016, but that can't be cover for them year after year after year after year to be terrible after the championship was attained. One of these days, they're going to have to start winning again. I wonder when that's going to be. All right, thank you very much for listening to the Dennis Manoloff Show, Season 1, Episode 6. Really appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon.
Want to hear more about your favorite TV shows and movies that are on countless streaming services?
Then listen to Up Next with your new favorite hosts, me, Kristen Aviles,
And me, Christina Walter.
Every other week, we'll highlight one genre, but 2 movies or TV shows, one old and one new.
We'll let you know what's hot and what's not from your favorite
or least favorite
streaming services.
And be sure to stay tuned to the end of each episode where we shout out an artist whose name you should know for their talent in the industry.
So follow us to stay up to date with your favorite hosts from Up Next,
a part of the Press Play Podcast Network.